Okay, so again, good morning and welcome back. Kahapon we discussed about the things that you need to prepare for you to be an effective virtual freelancer or a virtual assistant. We also discussed yung mga platforms that you need to check, that you need to create profiles with. So yun yung mga online jobs, yung mga LinkedIn, Upwork, Indeed, ano pa ba, Flex Jobs, Simply Hired, Fiverr. So I hope you guys have checked them out. We also checked yung mga different staffing companies na talagang visible na sa LinkedIn nowadays. So we have Nautical Staffing, there's Brunt Work, In the Black Room, there's Career Shepherd, My Mountain Mover, Med VA. So those are the staffing companies that you can check sa LinkedIn po. These companies are actually starting to hire more medical billers kasi this industry is really growing. So I hope you guys have also prepared your equipments like yung internet connectivity natin. If you need backup connection, then at least you can use yung mga data or mobile data. I'm using GoMo as my backup data po in case magloko si PLDT. So some companies also might um, have you use dual monitors. So prepare lang. And of course, yung mga laptops natin or desktop computers natin, you should have at least i3 or i5, RAM with 8 gigabit, and the bigger the screen, the wider the screen, the better. Okay? Where did I purchase? I actually got it from Lazada. Oo, pero I think there are Gomo SIM na sa mga malls. I'm not sure sa mga grocery stores, supermarkets, but yeah. So I got it from Lazada kasi may naka-ano na, may naka-ano 'to, may naka-load na, mga gano'n. It's about 600 pesos yata. Super gamit and well, depende din kasi sa location natin yung connection, but so far GOMO is doing good. Very stable yung connectivity din. So yun. Okay, so anyway, let me just present to you our discussion for today. Okay, so our agenda for today will be all about introduction to medical billing, and we'll discuss your job roles and your duties as a medical biller. Then we will discuss the US government healthcare programs, everything about how US healthcare works, and the whole revenue cycle management and its processes. So I'd like to show you a video presentation of what medical billing is and why it is important for you to have an idea, and then we'll have in-depth discussion after that. One moment while I play the video.
Why is medical billing important? When you visit a doctor, services are provided to you. After these services are given, there's a list made that tells what was done and how much it costs. This list is called a medical bill. Medical billing is the process by which this list is sent to insurance companies or to patients so the doctor can be paid for their work. In simpler terms, it's like sending an itemized bill to someone after a job is completed, but this job is medical care. The aim is to make sure doctors are fairly compensated for the care they've provided. Why is medical billing important? Every time a doctor helps someone, they deserve to be paid for their work. Medical billing is how this is ensured. Through this process, The costs of medical services are recorded and requests for payment are sent out. If medical billing wasn't done, doctors might not be paid for the services they provided. Just like we need money to buy things we want or need, doctors need to be paid to continue offering their important services. Therefore, medical billing is seen as a crucial step in the healthcare process. Understanding the medical billing process. Imagine you've made an appointment to see a doctor because you're feeling a bit under the weather. Here's what happens behind the scenes in the world of medical billing from the time you set foot in the doctor's office to when the doctor gets paid. Making an appointment. When you call the doctor's office and set a date for your visit, your details are taken down. This is the beginning. Checking in. Once you arrive, the receptionist at the front desk might ask you for some personal information about your health insurance. All this data is carefully entered into their system. Seeing the doctor. The doctor checks you, maybe orders some tests, gives you medicine or advice, and then notes down everything they did during your visit. Creating the bill. After your visit, a bill is made. This bill lists all the services the doctor provided and how much each one costs. Sending to the insurance. If you have health insurance, this bill is sent to them. They'll look at it, decide what parts they'll pay for, and then send the rest back. Patient's turn to pay. If there's any amount left after the insurance has paid their part, it's your turn. This amount is billed to you. If you don't have insurance, the whole bill comes to you directly. Closing the cycle. Once everyone has paid what they owe, the billing process is complete. The doctor's office will mark your bill as settled. And that's it. From the moment you walk into the doctor's office to the time the doctor receives payment, several steps are taken to ensure everything goes smoothly. This entire journey is what's known as the medical billing process. Why is medical billing important?
Okay, so I hope you had an idea now of what exactly medical billing is. So let's try to discuss this intricate process of medical billing. So again, when we say medical billing, we're talking about a process of generating medical claims and then submitting them to the insurance companies and following up on these claims to get a resolution. So generating claims and submitting them to the insurance is definitely a data entry process. When we generate medical claims, we are actually um, transferring the data from a form to another form. So it's basically a copy and paste job where we enter these data in a billing software. And once it is entered in the software, it goes directly to the insurance. So that's why um, sabi ko nga last time that medical billing is more on data entry, more on data gathering, less or minimal calls. When we follow up on these claims, that's when we actually call insurances. So I hope you guys are okay calling insurances. But then these insurances have their own portals. They have their own websites, just like here in the Philippines. So we have Manulife, we have AXA, we have PruLife, we have Sun Life, and each of these insurances have their own portals. So when we follow up, when we check the status of the claims, we don't necessarily call them. We just check the portal. So that's why when you asked me guys if purely non-voiced ba or may mga calls ba itong medical billing, again, blended yung task ng isang medical biller. There are calls, but very few or minimal lang, so that we get the status of these claims and get the resolution. When we say resolution, we're actually referring to getting payments on those medical claims, because the goal is for these physicians or providers get paid for the services. And yun yung goal natin as a medical biller. Yun yung task ng isang medical biller, to ensure that these services provided to the patients will be paid. So a medical claim is like a bill sent to the insurance company or the patient, which lists all services and costs provided by the doctor. And once it is sent to the insurance, we always want to ensure na mababayaran yung mga claims na yon. If not by the insurance, then at least by the patients. 'Di ba kasi may mga services na hindi ko-cover ng insurance. So if that's the case, then we also bill patients para mabayaran si Doki. And that's the whole thing about medical billing. It's entirely the process of um, payment or collection of those services provided to the patients. So, what are your daily responsibilities and duties as a medical biller? You are responsible for maintaining low AR or accounts receivable and bad debt of assigned payers, which focuses on insurance collections. So, again, yung medical billers, sila yung nagfo-follow up sa mga medical claims. We're talking about medical claims here, not dental claims or death claims. So medical claims are those claims sent to the insurances for every services, every treatment, surgery, or any procedure provided to these patients. Okay. And as your daily responsibility, you are to review and perform follow up insurance calls on all those claims that are still open or those claims which has balances. So when we say open or balances, ito yung mga claims na hindi pa bayad ng insurance. Ito yung mga claims na denied ng insurance, or yung mga claims na hindi binayaran ng insurance because of lacking information or mga lacking documents. Ito yung mga claims na hindi pa naisusubmit kay insurance. So, syempre, as medical billers, ikaw yung magsusubmit nun. Ito yung mga claims na may disputes tayo and that ikaw yung magfa-follow up. So, as medical billers, you are to ensure na mababayaran yung mga claims ni Doki. Okay? Second is to document and update each call accurately and appropriately. So, whenever you follow up on claims, whenever you call insurances, you are to ensure na whatever transpired on the call, everything has to be documented. So that's why part ng training natin is documentation, so that you would know how to notate the account accurately and completely. Why? Because that's the only way for you to communicate with your onshore billers. They wouldn't know that you have worked the account if you do not document the account. So as a biller, you should know how to accurately and completely document the account. So part po yan ng training natin, because that's going to be part of your daily task. Anything that's not documented, meaning you have not worked the account at all. So every time you touch the account by doing changes or by making necessary updates on the account, then everything has to be documented. Okay? Third is to initiate and answer correspondence for claims resolution with insurance carriers. So some insurances may have to send you an email or send you a fax or send the provider a letter. So you have to respond to these correspondence. I mean, either by email or by fax. If you found out that the insurance requires or requests medical records of the patients, then you have to send it to them either by fax or by mail. Pero syempre, if we have to mail something, then it's our onshore biller who will have to work on that. So remember, you'll be working closely with your onshore biller, with your US counterpart. So kung may mga things that you cannot do, such as mailing documents or sending a fax to the insurance, then it's the onshore biller who will do that, not you. Unless you need to follow up on something or call insurances, then pwede tayong gumawa nun. Tayo yung nagfa-follow up, tayo yung tumatawag kay insurance, not the onshore biller. Okay? And of course, lastly, your task will be to monitor, research, and resolve any unpaid claims, any rejected claims, and any denied claims. So, a medical biller, a VA, should know how to handle different claim denials, different claim rejections, and unpaid claims, so that one should be knowledgeable in handling these different claim statuses. So, part or mostly, dito tayo need ng clients. They don't need a lot of VAs who will do prior auth or who will do insurance verification. Maybe they just need one, at least one or two. But mostly our providers, our clients would need medical billers who would follow up on these claims. So this is where we come in, and this is where we will maximize our skills. Kasi dito tayo mas need ng clients. The more patients they have, the more claims we need to follow up, the more claims we need to submit. And si medical biller yung gagawa nun. It's not the doctor, of course. It's not the coder. It's not the front desk, but it's the biller who does those things from behind the scenes. Okay? Gets po ba? Understand naman yung ano, gets naman yung task natin as a biller?
Yes po,
Questions so
okay.
far? Okay. Okay, and I want you guys to, interrupt me if you have any questions or clarifications, or if something is not clear, feel free to butt in, and that's okay with me. Okay? Or you can use yung ano dyan, yung mga icon dyan na yung hand icon, something. Okay, healthcare insurances. So let's talk about healthcare insurances, US healthcare insurances. Kasi these are the government insurances or healthcare programs that you will most likely deal with once you already have a client. We have 6 major government healthcare programs in the US. The Medicare insurance, Medicaid insurance, the State Children's Health Insurance Program, TRICARE, Veterans Health Administration, and the Indian Health Service. But in most cases, you'll be dealing with these two, Medicare and Medicaid. When we say Medicare, this is a federal health insurance program for senior citizens. Those people age 65 or older, or pwede din yung mga under 65 with certain disabilities, or any age with end-stage renal disease. So those suffering or undergoing dialysis or kidney transplant, eligible sila for Medicare insurance. And Medicaid. When we say Medicaid, this is another federal and state health insurance program for low-income earners. So yung mga poreta kumbaga sa US, sila yung mga eligible for Medicaid insurance. In the Philippines, what are the government healthcare programs do we have here? Yung alam nyo. What are those programs we have?
PhilHealth po.
PhilHealth, of course, very common. What else? What else? SSS. Okay. Yeah, SSS meron. What else? Malasakit, of course, we have Malasakit. Intellicare, I think it's a private insurance, right? Intellicare, mga MaxiCare, these are
Maxi.
private programs or insurances, healthcare insurances. So yes, we have Malasakit, PhilHealth. What else? Yun lang ba? I think madami naman. What else? What other programs do you know of? Yes, exactly. DSWD, of course. What else? um, what else? Ito lang ba? Four-piece, of course. Four-piece. Di ba yung ano, I just knew about four-piece. Yung mga low-income earners pala may card yan so that when one of their members get hospitalized in a government hospital, parang pinapakita lang nila yung ID nila. So, malaki yung ano, yung bawas sa bill nila, medical bills nila. So there. PCSO, yeah, of course. We have PCSO. Very good. What else? So we have Malasakit, PhilHealth, DSWD, 4Ps, PCSO, MAIP, MAIP. What is MAIP? What is MAIP? Medical Assistance Program.
Medical
Okay.
assistance for indigent program po.
Indigent. Ayun. So we have MAIP. What else? 'Di ba madami actually, hindi nga lang tayo masyadong ano, um, aware sa mga programs na 'to. But when you know someone or when a family member gets hospitalized or undergoing mga cancer treatment, mga um dialysis, that's when you know, ay ang dami pala. Actually madaming mga ano medical assistance yung ano natin, government natin. So there's um ano 'to, OVP, there is that OVP, may mga ano pa ba? I just knew about them kasi yung father ko was a dialysis ano patient. So there's OVP and yung mga party list. Yeah, party list program. So madami. Aside sa PCSO, Lingap, of course, right? Meron ba kayong Lingap sa ano, sa lugar nyo? Meron kami dito sa Davao. LGU-based programs. Yeah, we have a lot, right? Mga LGU-based programs. So, ano pa ba? Um, yun lang ba? Parang marami actually. It's just that some of these programs are not known to us because yun nga hindi din yan inaano, parang binabandera ng government, parang ganon. So anyway, but those are just some of our healthcare programs in the Philippines. So going back, US has all these government programs aside from Medicare and Medicaid. So they have state children's health insurance program for children and the TRICARE program for those uniformed service members, retirees, and their families to receive healthcare benefits, which I think we also have that here in the Philippines. The Veterans Health Admin for war veterans, and I think we also have that. Indian Health Service for Indian people, yung mga American Indian and Alaska Native. So these are just some of their government healthcare programs. And again, you guys will be dealing mostly with patients who have either Medicare or Medicaid. So pwedeng Medicare yung primary insurance nila and then secondary insurance nila is Medicaid. Or pwede ding Medicare yung primary insurance nila and then yung secondary insurance nila is a commercial or a private insurance. So in the US, most of our patients may have 2 to 3 insurances. So, yeah, mga ganon. Uso sa kanila. And some states actually impose this as, parang, parang necessity sa lugar nila. So, parang, what's the right term ba? So, mga ganon. Nakalimutan ko yung term.
Yung required po siya talaga.
Yeah, required, ayun. It's a requirement sa state. There are states like that na hindi pwedeng, or there are facilities in the US who do not cater self-pay patients. So when we say self-pay, yun yung mga patients or members or citizens who do not have insurances. So may mga facilities who will not cover them or who will not cater to those patients. So requirement yan sa kanila. Let's talk about the insurer and the insured. So when we say insurer, this is a person or organization that provides healthcare coverage to the insured in exchange for a premium payment. So this is basically the insurance company. The insured is us. That's the people covered under the insurance policy. So we have types of insured, the subscriber, and the dependent, of course. So dependents, so these are our parents, our spouse, our children, and so on. Now let's talk about the providers. Let's try to differentiate these providers. Because these providers, both the healthcare provider and the billing provider can be your clients. Either of these providers can be your future clients. So when we say healthcare providers, who are these healthcare providers? What do we mean by healthcare providers, or any examples of healthcare providers?
Doctors.
Doctors.
Doctors, very good. What else? Hospitals, of course. Nurses, of course. What else? Therapists,
Therapist.
very good. Yep. Therapies, pharmacists, clinics, hospitals, hospice facilities, therapists. What else? Caregivers, correct. Health centers, correct. Med techs, rad techs, yep, correct. What else? Home for the home for the aged, chiropractors, palliative, correct. What else? Who else? Who are considered healthcare providers? Laboratories, very good. Yep. Dental clinics, yep. Dental clinics or mga dentists, they are considered healthcare providers, correct. What else? Who else? Mga EMTs, correct. Very good. What else? EMTs, what else? Mga other facilities, clinics, rad techs, yep. PT or OT, yung physical therapist, occupational therapist. So these are also considered healthcare providers. OBGYN, yep, correct. What else? Who else? Psychologist, yun. So, and so on and so forth. SLPs, speech language. SLP, what's SLP again? Yeah, whatever. Speech language, whatever. Pathologies, ayun. So lahat na lang, 'di ba? These are considered healthcare providers. They are considered healthcare providers. And again, lahat ng clinics, lahat ng facilities, mga hospitals, these are considered healthcare providers. And again, they can be your clients in the future. Pwedeng yung client mo is the doctor themselves, or they can be the owner of the clinic, the owner of the facility. Pwede din yung medical supervisor, yung mga directors of the clinics or facilities. They can be your client in the future. When we say billing providers naman, these are third-party entity or third-party company who assist healthcare providers. They review claims, they file for claims, they review invoices and authorize adjustments. They basically assist healthcare providers. Kasi halimbawa in a government hospital with let's say 50 doctors, how many patients do you think they cater every day in a government hospital with 50 doctors? Any rough estimate?
That's more than 100 siguro, coach.
In a day, like per doctor, how many patients do they cater per day? 250? 250 ba yun? I mean, per doctor. O-
15,
per
20.
day. Mga 11, 1 is to 25. No, parang ganun. 1 is to 25. One doctor for 25 patients per day. Or 20 to 25. Let's settle with 20. 1 is to 20. One doctor for 20 patients per day. So, kung 50 doctors yon, that sums up to 1,000 claims that needs to be submitted every day to the insurance. How many billing staff do you think a government hospital has with 50 doctors? Mga billing staff. 10? No, not more than 50? 50 billing staff? I think that's too much. No, correct. Siguro mga 10 to 15, right? So with 50 doctors who caters 20 patients per day, so that's like 1,000 medical claims that needs to be submitted to the insurance companies. And these government hospital usually has 10 to 15 billing staff only sa billing department. So there's not really much of a staff these government hospitals have. So we would expect only 10 to 15 or not even more than 10. Yung iba ko konti lang talaga. So with 1,000 claims that needs to be submitted every day to these insurances, do you think kaya yon ng billing department? So that will be impossible. Lalo na pag nag-o-overlap na yung mga responsibilities natin or nag-o-overlap na yung mga claims natin. So that becomes challenging for the healthcare provider to monitor their claims, to ensure that payments are being tracked, to ensure that claims are being paid. So that's when they partner with billing providers. And again, these billing providers or billing companies are third-party entity. That's when they come in and they can be our clients. So these billing providers own a billing company or a billing office. And in return, they also outsource VAs, not just the healthcare providers, but also the billing providers outsource VAs like us to help them with the claims, to help them with follow-ups, to help them with the ledger or payment posting, or yung mga necessary things that we add mga admin task. So both of these providers can be your clients. Who have worked with healthcare providers before? I know for some of you who have worked as a medical VA, I'm pretty sure you've worked with either the healthcare provider or the billing provider. Who do you think is more comfortable or more convenient to work with based on your experience? I mean, walang tama or maling sagot ha. I just want to know your experience para ma-share din natin sa iba who has no idea at all. Which one is easier to work with or which one is more convenient to work with? Is it the healthcare provider or the billing provider? Anyone? Hello? Okay pa ba tayo dyan? Anyone who wants to share their experience with either the healthcare provider or the billing provider? Si Miss Elaine, healthcare provider, why? Why do you think it's easier or more comfortable to work with healthcare providers? Hmm. Yeah? Parang healthcare providers daw kasi they're less irate, they're more professional compared to billing providers, okay? Okay. Sir J Boy, why billing? Why is it more comfortable, more convenient to work with the billing providers? Especially sa mga beginners, why do you or yeah, why do you think it's more convenient or easier to work with billing providers?
Hello po, coach. I have no experience with a billing provider, pero as far as I know, you would normally like do outbound calls with billing providers since you'll have to follow up insurances. Unlike with a
Mhm.
healthcare provider, you would normally like aside from calling insurances for prior auth or insurance verifications, you would
Mhm.
receive calls like a lot of calls for setting up appointments. So I'd rather call someone than someone calling me para sa akin lang po.
Ah, okay. You're right, actually. But then again, depende din yan sa magiging task mo, di ba? So, if you're a biller, most likely you'll be doing a lot of outgoing calls. Kasi sabi ko nga, si biller is the one who will follow up on medical claims by calling insurances. So um, tayo yung tatawag kay insurance unless or unlike with medical VAs, if you do front desk or mga admin task, in some cases, you're gonna have to take patient calls kasi you're gonna do scheduling or appointment setting. So either you take in patient calls or you'll be calling patients. So depende din sa task. Um, sa experience ko po, healthcare provider, why Miss Eliza? Why do you think it's easier to work with healthcare providers or more convenient? Do you want to share? Bakit mas okay si healthcare provider? Para din na may idea yung mga newbies, guys. Anything you want to share? None? Um, si Miss Elaine, sabi niya, because of my experience working as a pharmacist, parang makarelate kami sa each other. Okay. Si Miss guys, okay lang talaga magsalita kaysa basahin ko 'tong mga messages niyo. Libre pong magsalita dito, it's okay. Anyone who wants to speak? Sige na nga, basahin ko na lang yung mga comments niyo. So with Miss Marja, she said, I haven't worked as a VA, but maybe the billing provider, since data na yung meron sa kanila, busy kasi yung healthcare providers. Kaya nagmamadali sila. You know what? I agree with you. Mostly, if you work with doctors or any healthcare providers, masyadong masyadong busy, masyadong minsan walang proseso si Doki, mga gano'n. Whereas compared with billing providers, they already have a system, they already have a process so that when they hire a VA, when they hire or when they outsource VAs, they already know how to train you, when to train you. They already have prepared mga training materials. They already have a system for you to just um ano to, imitate mga ganon. Compared to healthcare providers, sometimes wala, gulo-gulong buhay, magulo yung sistema ni Doki. Sometimes hindi mo din limited din yung mga access mo sa systems, sa mga insurance portals or websites ng insurance. And that's something na very important the biller has to have access with, yung mga insurance portals, para hindi na tayo magtatawag kay insurance. And minsan, hindi pa yan nasi-set up ni Doki. Compared to when you work with billing providers, most of the time, they already have that set up. So, once they hire you, magbibigay na lang sila, magpo-provide na lang sila ng mga website access for you. And even the whole system, yung mga phones, for you to call, insurances, si billing provider na din yung mag-set up niyan. Compared to healthcare providers, mas systematic yung process ni billing provider. I'm not saying na mas okay katrabaho si billing provider. It's just that based on my experience din, mas systematic yung sistema or proseso ni billing provider. And with healthcare providers, once they train you, mabilisan. Lahat mabilisan kasi syempre walang time si Doki mag-train. They don't have time to monitor you from time to time. So you're on your own. You really have to be resourceful. You really have to be a quick learner. Whereas with billing providers, minsan they give you at least mga 2 to 4 weeks or even up to 8 weeks to learn everything, to learn the process, the system, everything about their business before they let you loose. So, yung training sometimes one-on-one, in a day, minsan ite-train ka ng mga 3 to 4 hours, and then continue ulit the next day until you get comfortable with the system, with the process, with their tools, and that's when they assign you specific task, mga ganon. So, depende din yan sa client, kung gaano sila ka-busy, kung gaano ka-problematic yung facilities, or yung accounts nila. So, I hope you get what I mean. And, sabi ni Miss Rach, healthcare provider siguro, since you'll be working directly with the doctor or the owner themselves. Yes, correct. Minsan, pag you work with healthcare providers, with the doctor, mas makukuha mo yung direktang sagot, mga ganon. So, if there are things that you have questions about, isang message mo lang kay Doki, nasasagot na agad. Whereas with billing providers, minsan pag napunta pa kay onshore biller yung mga tanong mo, minsan hindi agad nasasagot. May mga delays sa responses because there are things that they need to clarify sa client or sa Doki. Yung mga ganon. Especially pag may mga coding issues or may mga questions tayo about specific codes, pag hindi yan nasagot ng onshore biller mo or ng counterpart mo, they had to forward it or escalate it with the providers. So matagal yung yung resolution, mga ganon. So I think that's what she meant. Hindi din hands-on yung healthcare provider sa insurance, pero baka iba nga sa US, so baka depende sa situation. Healthcare providers straightforward. Yeah, that's true. And they don't do spoon feeding. Oh, wala talagang spoon feeding, especially with with healthcare providers. So minsan nga pag nagtitrain si Doki, they just show you how it's done and then that's it. You do what you need to do. So depende din yan sa client. And mas sabi ni Miss Eliza, mas convenient sa akin to work with healthcare providers because experience ko, I have talked to physicians directly sa mga case managers. If may mga patient info na need for our processing, usually may mga case managers na naka-assign for the patients, kaya madali at mas mabilis ang pag-gather ng information when you work with healthcare providers. So yon. So those are just some of our experiences, guys. But again, any one of these healthcare providers and billing providers can be your clients. And wag na tayo maging choosy, di ba? Baka sabihin nyo, dito na lang tayo kay billing provider kasi ganito, mas ganyan. Or dito na lang tayo kay healthcare. No, it's not like that. Of course, you don't get to choose whatever is offered to you, grab every opportunity na. The thing is, with healthcare providers, mas higher yung rate compared yung pay rate ha, I'm talking about pay rate, compared to billing providers. Correct me if I'm wrong. But that's just based sa experience ko din. So mas malaki magpasahod si Doki compared to these billing providers. And some of these billing providers also impose mga productivity trackers. Most often than not, they have these productivity trackers compared to when you work with doctors. Ang gusto lang ni Doki is tulungan mo lang sila sa accounts nila, tulungan mo lang sila na mai-submit yung mga medical claims to the insurances within in a timely manner. Ang gusto lang ni Doki is that you ensure that all claims are not just submitted but get paid also. Yun lang naman yung gusto ni Doki. But when you work with billing providers, minsan may mga targets yan sila. So if they want you to work 50 accounts per day, that's it. If they want you to submit claims like 100 claims per day, then that's going to be your target. But when you work with doctors, minsan wala. They just want you to do whatever you need to do during your working hours. Mga gano'n. But then again, depende din yan sa magiging clients nyo. So, some clients may have you download an application for them to track your productivity, for them to know that you're working within your 8-hour shift. So be ready with that, especially nowadays na yung mga clients natin maalam na din sa proseso. So may mga um, trackers na silang pinapa-download sa computer nyo so that they would know how long you've been working, what time you logged in, what time you logged off, and if you're still, doing things or if you're still working during your working hours. So they want to know what applications you've opened, they want to know what you've been doing the whole 8-hour shift. So expect talaga na may mga productivity trackers na nowadays. Okay? Questions so far? Okay naman tayo sa mga productivity trackers na yan, di ba? So I hope you are. Kasi it's expected na talaga, especially nowadays na they want to keep track of your progress. They want to know na kung, di ba, kung tinatrabaho mo yung mga kailangan mong trabahuin. Kasi they don't have visibility over your work. The only way for them to find out if you're actually working is that's it. If they have that productivity tracker. May mga productivity trackers where they capture what's on your screen. Trackers that would also show what applications you've used, what applications you have opened, or how long you have opened them. So if nagne-Netflix ka lang, nag-YouTube ka lang, there are trackers na natitrace yung mga applications na yon. So be careful with that. Pag working hours mo talaga, then you have to be really use or pull up applications that are related to your job or else goodbye, yung mga ganon. So madami na tayong mga VAs na na-terminate yung contract because of things like that. 'Di ba? Parang yung dam utilization sa'min naglalag po ba ako? Is the connection okay? Or
Miss, feel ko sa akin lang po yun. Sorry po. Thank you.
okay. Okay, no worries. All right, so yeah, but these can be both our clients, guys. And again, whoever that would be, regardless kung si healthcare man yan or si billing provider, we should be good. Let's talk about revenue cycle management. And again, as medical billers, we are part of the RCM process. We are part, or we are even considered the RCM specialist, the revenue cycle management specialist. So when we say RCM, this is used in the healthcare system to track the revenue for the providers for the services taken by the patients. And it starts with patient's appointment with the doctor to the resolution of a claim. When we say resolution of a claim, again, it pertains to getting the services paid for every services provided to the patient. Either yung mababayad ng services na yan is the insurance or the patient themselves. It starts with patient registration. So when we say patient registration, that's the process wherein the patient goes to the clinic and then fills out a form, the necessary information kung ano yung mga demographics information ng patient. This is when patient will also have to sign any mga authorization forms to authorize the provider to conduct business with their insurance. This is when patient will have to provide all the documents that they will need para ma-process yung mga claims natin. So, magpo-provide ng mga insurance cards sa patient. So, just like here in the Philippines, pag pumunta ka sa clinic ni Doki, you provide all the necessary information that the provider needs, such as our insurance cards, our government ID cards, any medical records. If you're a new patient na wala pang record kay Doki, then you're gonna have to fill out the whole form. But if you already have a record, pag established patient ka na ni Doki, then you just ensure na updated yung mga information na yon sa system ni Doki or sa record ni Doki. So that's the whole patient registration. After ma-register na yung or maka-create ng record si front desk ni patient, the second step is the verification of insurance. So this is when front desk has to call insurance to verify if active ba yung policy ni patient or i-verify ni front desk kung i-cover ba ni insurance yung procedure. So it's more likely calling insurances to verify the benefits and eligibility of the patient. Kasi syempre 'di ba before before yung treatment, before yung procedure, talagang kailangang i-verify mo na ni front desk. So verification of insurance is done by the front desk. But sometimes this step is being parang napapasa din minsan kay medical biller. So I do not encourage you to take this as of yet. Kasi this entails calling insurances and verifying benefits and eligibility. And this should be done by our front desk, if not by our medical VAs. I think we have medical VAs here who are doing patient benefits and eligibility. Tama ba? Yeah? Meron, right? I think kahapon meron nagsabi na siya. He or she's doing insurance verification? You do, Miss Keisha, okay. When you verify patients' eligibility and benefits, do you usually call insurance? Or do you just use the insurance portal or website?
Um, I just use the insurance portal po.
What about you, Miss Queenie? Do you do the same?
Yes po, but more on calls po kasi medyo few lang yung exposed ako sa insurance portal such as Ability, UHC lang, at saka Noridian.
Oo. Oo.
So,
So,
the rest calls na po.
calls na, no? Oo. Especially when you work with doctors, guys, etong verification of insurance would really ano to, they would always want you to call insurances, lalo na pag wala kayong access sa portals or they have not set up access to the insurance portals. So your clients would always want you to call insurances. Unless may mga cases like what Miss Queenie said, if you have access to the insurance portals like Availity or yung Noridian or Medicare portal or United Healthcare, these are insurances by the way, then it's easier for you to check, verify patients' benefits and eligibility. But if not, then you're gonna have to call insurances. So for now, we don't do verification of insurance as medical billers. Again, this is done by the front desk or by our medical VAs. Okay? After ma-verify yung benefits ni patient, during the procedure or during the treatment, i-code na yan ni medical coder yung procedure, yung surgery. So the third step of revenue cycle management is coding. This is when the services provided to the patient are translated into universally recognized medical codes, ensuring clarity and accuracy in billing. So halimbawa, if patient goes to the doctor's clinic for, let's say, nagpapa-rhinoplasty si patient, yung rhinoplasty na service will be coded by our medical coders or by the providers. When we submit those claims to the insurance, dun sa claim form, it's not gonna show rhinoplasty na word or exact word. It'll be coded to a specific code. What's the code for rhinoplasty? Does anyone know? What is the code for rhinoplasty? May coders tayo dito, right? Or anyone who knows the procedure code for rhinoplasty? Ayun, 30400. So there. I don't know what that is, but yeah, if that's the code for rhinoplasty, then once we submit the claim to the insurance, we're going to enter 30400. So anything about codes, this will be done by our medical coders. Usually yung mga medical coders natin are those onshore na nasa US. So it's not the biller who will code the service or the procedure, but it's the coder. So universally, it's a universal language that both providers and insurance are using. So every services, lahat ng treatment, lahat ng surgery, even the equipments, pag may ginamit na equipments or medication during the procedure, kinocode po yan ng coders natin or ni Doki. And once kailangan na natin mag-submit ng claims kay insurance, then we just enter those codes sa system. And that's where we come in. Step 4. The charge entry process is a process where we enter the patient's demographics information and those codes sa billing software. Let me show you an example of a document which billers would receive after ng surgery or after ng treatment. So this is what we call face sheets. So a face sheet is actually a form which billers would receive after ng procedure ni patient. So this is an example of a face sheet showing the number of patients who went or who visited the doctor's clinic last November 4, November 5, November 7, and so on and so forth. And these are the codes or these are the services rendered to the patients. Itong 99232, 99231, 99233, and so on and so forth. These are CPT codes or procedure codes. Anyone who can tell me what 99232 means? What is 99232? 99232 is a CPT code. Anybody who knows what 99232 is? So this is basically an office visit, right? Tama ba? May ano tayo dito, may coder. It's a okay. It's a hospital visit. Okay, there. So thank you. So these codes are hospital visits so that pag pumunta si patient kay Doki, when we submit the claim to the insurance, we don't put their hospital visit or we don't put follow-up visit. We use this code and enter that sa system. And again, if you're not a coder, you wouldn't know that. So yung nagko-code ng mga services na yan, yung mga visits na yan, yung mga procedures na yan, si coder po. Once this face sheet is sent to the billing team or to the billing department, what we usually do is nag-charge entry lang tayo. So again, charge entry is a process where we enter these patients' demographics and these procedures sa billing software. Ito yung ipapasa ni front desk or ng provider's office kay medical biller. So once we have this face sheet, like the patient's name, the patient's date of birth, the patient's address, the contact information, the emergency contact information, including the insurance information ni patient, and these codes here, itong F32.9, itong mga 99232, so lahat yan, i-code natin or ilalagay natin sa billing software. And that's what we meant by charge entry. So it's a process of entering those patients' demographics sa system ready for claim submission. And that's what we do as medical billers. These tasks are outsourced to a VA kasi syempre kung halimbawa madaming patients si Doki, it's not the doctor who will submit these claims. It's not the front desk who will do the charge entry. It's not the coder. It's not the director or whoever will do the charge entry. It's the medical biller. So this is a purely data entry task. And so when you ask me if mahirap ba yung medical billing? Well, I'm saying mahirap pero doable. Especially that most of our tasks involve data entry and data gathering lang. And this is where we will start with our task, charge entry. Depende kung gaano kadami yung claims na kailangan nating isubmit during the day, that's how many charge entries we will have to do for every provider, for every facility that we handle. So with that example dun sa face sheet na pinakita ko kanina, it shows, I think, less than 10 or 9 patients. And that's how many claims we have to submit during the day. If you're only doing charge entry in an 8-hour shift, you should be able to come up with you should be able to complete 100 to 150 claims per day. Kasi charge entry is purely a data entry task. Copy and paste ka lang from the face sheet to the billing software. Pag na-enter mo na lahat ng patient's demographics and the codes sa software, then it should be ready for claim submission, which is the next step of the RCM process. Claim submission is the process of submitting all these medical claims to the insurances. And in most cases, we do electronic claim submission na po. Everything is almost electronic sa US. There may be some claims that needs to be faxed or that needs to be submitted by paper or by mail. anything that needs to be submitted by paper or by mail, si onshore biller na yung gumagawa nun. But if we have to do electronic claim submission, then it's the VA who will do that. So ito, step 5 is part of our task. And the biller has to ensure that within 24 to 48 hours, after the service is rendered to the patient, dapat na isubmit na natin yung mga claims na yon. And it should be easy kasi 'di ba? We do it electronically lang. Once we receive the face sheet, i-enter lang natin, kokopyahin lang natin kung ano yung nasa face sheet and then ilagay lang dun sa billing software natin. Once ma-click mo yung submit, it goes directly to the insurance. It's just that it's crucial kasi 'di ba, we have to be really careful in entering the patient's demographics or the charges sa billing software. Kasi pag mali yung data na nai-enter mo, then it may lead to claim rejection or claim denials. So be very careful with that. Okay? After nating may submit yung claims kay insurance, there is that what we call adjudication process wherein the insurance will review our claims and they will determine whether or not the service billed to them is payable or not. So i-review nila yan and they will have to decide whether yung services will be paid, and if it's not payable, then they will deny our claims. So once insurance process our claims, they provide us a copy of EOB. And let me show you an example of an EOB. Every time our claims get processed, we have this EOB wherein it shows how the insurance pay for the service. For example, this one. Let me show you this. Okay. All right, so this is an example of an EOB I'd like to show you. This EOB means explanation of benefit, or sometimes they call it explanation of payment. So explanation of benefit or explanation of payment. And again, once the insurance receives our claim, they usually process our claims within 30 business days or up to 60 business days from the time that they receive the claim. Pag na-process yan nila, paid or not, they will send us a copy of this EOB or EOP, explanation of benefits or explanation of payment. It shows how they paid the claim, how much they paid the claim, and ano yung mga services na binayaran ni insurance. So this is an example of an EOB which we got from Sequoia Health. This is the insurance, Sequoia Health. On the EOB, you would see where this was sent to, and it shows dermatology, which is the provider. The EOB shows you which claim this was processed for, and this is the claim for Victoria. You would see the member's ID, the member's date of birth, and the provider's name, Sidoki. On the EOB, you would also see the claim number and the patient's account number. The EOB shows you the date of service. Date of service is the date when the procedure was done or when the visit was made. So yung date of service ng claim na to is March 6, 2022. And the EOB also shows you the procedure code that we bill the insurance. Yung procedure code, na to, 99444, is a telehealth service. When we say telehealth service, it's a type of service done by telehealth. Who can tell me what a telehealth service is? Any idea what a telehealth service is? Or itong 99444. What do we mean by 99444? Anyone? Anyone? Any idea what 99444 means? Ay, wala.
Consultation made through telephone.
Okay, okay, very good, very good. So when we say telehealth service or 99444, it's basically an online evaluation or online checkup. So yun yung layman's term, online checkup, which became ano to, very ano na, which became known, or siguro known na yan before, but it became more common during pandemic, 'di ba? So we were doing a lot of telehealth consult or telehealth evaluation or telehealth services na. So we used our phones when we do virtual consultation. So mga ganon. And again, when we bill insurances for telehealth service, we use codes, which we call procedure codes or CPT codes, and we use that 99444. That's what it means. That's what it meant by online evaluation or online consultation. And this code is billed to this insurance, Sequoia Health, for $200. Ito yung chinarge ni Doki kay insurance, $200. So you see there the billed amount. On the EOB, you would also see the allowed amount. The allowed amount, guys, is the maximum amount or reimbursable amount na makukuha ni Doki from the insurance. And it shows $85. The allowed amount is the contracted rate na makukuha ng provider sa insurance. So even if the provider bills $200, since the allowed amount or the maximum contracted rate for the service, 99444, is only $85, then the docky will only get $85 for this type of service. Because as per contract ni patient kay Sequoia, sa insurance niya, the allowable amount is only $85. And if you notice, on the EOB, you would see the net paid amount of $63.75. Net paid amount is the amount that the insurance paid to the provider. So Sequoia Health Insurance only paid $63.75 out of the $200 that the docky billed for this type of service. Now, these copay, deductible, and co-insurance, these are all patient responsibility. Kasi may mga insurance plans yung patient natin wherein there's always that cost sharing between them and their insurance. So depende din po yan sa insurance plan ng patient. So kung may cost sharing, you would see that either sa copay, sa deductible, or sa co-insurance. If patient has a copay of, let's say, $20 kada visit niya sa doctor, then you would see a copay amount here. But in this case, copay shows 0. That means walang babayaran si patient. The patient does not have to pay any copay every time they do telehealth consult to the doctor. The deductible naman is another patient responsibility. So may mga insurance plans ni patient na mga ng mga members wherein yung deductible ng isang patient it can vary depende sa policy ng patient. So minsan may $1,000 which is payable for a year, merong insurance policy na may deductible of $2,000 or $3,000 payable within a year. So depende din yan sa policy ni patient. In this case, the patient has zero deductible, meaning wala din siyang babayaran ni isang kusing kay Doki. Kasi nga, zero yung deductible. So, depende sa policy ni patient kung magkano yung deductible ng insurance plan niya. Co-insurance naman is another patient responsibility. So, it's a percentage sharing between the patient and the insurance. So minsan, depende sa insurance plan ng patient, meron silang 30-70 na hatian ng insurance. 30-70 or 20-80, mga ganon. But in this case, sa insurance ni patient, it shows co-insurance is zero, so that means wala ding babayaran si patient. Wala siyang co-insurance. So may mga ganong insurance plans sa US. So the patient does not have to pay anything at all sa kada visit nila kay Doki. So this is a perfect example where the patient does not have to pay anything. And so the net amount paid by the insurance is only $63.75. And as medical billers, sabi ko nga, part of your job is to evaluate, to monitor claims, to follow up on these claims, and to investigate claims to ensure na bayad tayo ng insurance in full. To ensure na mababayaran si Doki in full for all services provided to the patient. And ito yung na-receive nating EOB from the insurance. You as a medical biller will have to figure out, will have to investigate if this claim has been paid in full. Based on this EOB, can you tell me if this claim has been paid in full? This will be part of your job, guys. You're gonna have to analyze EOBs. So I'd like you to try to assess based on what you're seeing right now if this claim has been paid in full or not. Sir John, no. Why? Why do you think it's not paid in full?
Because the billed amount was $200.
Right. So,
But the insurance only paid partial of it.
which is 63.75.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So not paid in full. No. Okay, no. So what do you think we should do next if that's the case?
My question po ako, Coach, if ganito po yung mangyari, may chance po tayong mag-send ng, kumbaga, appeal po.
Yeah. I mean, sorry. The insurance would always tell you, okay, if you dispute or if you have questions about the claim or if you do not agree with the payment, you can always dispute. You can always file an appeal. Yan yung sasabihin ni insurance as always. Pag may mga questions tayo sa payment, if we do not agree sa payment or if we do not agree sa mga decisions nila based on how they pay the claim, they would always tell us, yeah, go ahead, just file an appeal. Mga ganun. And yes, in this case, we can always file an appeal if we have questions. But you as a medical biller will have to determine whether or not this is appealable. Kasi baka nagsasayang ka lang ng oras. So let's try to figure out, is this claim paid in full? And if not, what do you think could be our next action?
Check
Or
the
what do you think?
contract.
Check the
Or
contract.
po. Or, yeah.
Check the contract ni patient. Why? What do we need to check sa contract?
We have to check the denials po, the denials. Baka may mga denials po and all. Kaya hindi na po, na full pay.
Correct, correct. Always check the denial sa claim, not the contract. Kasi minsan, si provider, wala ding copy sa insurance or insurance policy or contract ni patient sa insurance niya. So, most of the time, actually, we don't have a copy of those contract kasi kay patient yan, di ba? Hindi yan ipoprovide ng patient.
Okay
Ikaw
po.
ba, pinoprovide mo ba yan sa docu mo? Di ba not? So, unless the provider has, pwede. But you're right. If this claim doesn't seem like tama yung pagkakaprocess ng payment, we can always check the denials. So, Miss Karen, you said check the denial on the EOB. Well, this is the EOB. Now tell me, what do we need to do based on the EOB? How do you understand this EOB?
Coach, question po, Coach, what's the adjust amount for?
Adjusted amount. The adjusted amount is that amount na hindi binayaran ni insurance, and that's why it's called adjusted amount. Ito
Okay,
yung
so the answer
hindi
was hindi siya
kinover.
binayaran.
Correct. Oo. This is
Okay.
the amount not paid by the insurance. And that's what you need to find out. That's what you need to figure out. Bakit merong amount na hindi binayaran si insurance? Ano tong 2125? So,
Maybe
double
because
check.
of
Mhm.
double check yung AQ adjusted code 825. What is that for?
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, very good. So yeah, you have to check what is this 825. The EOB, guys, actually comes from the insurance, and most of the time, if insurance does not pay anything or if the insurance has adjustments on the payment, nilalagay nila yan sa EOB nila. That means the EOB will explain to you what exactly happened on the claim, why they only paid that amount. And so you would see there the adjustment code of 825. It's up to you how to analyze that code or where to check the explanation of this code. And that's why it's called explanation of benefits. Okay, very good.
Yeah.
Si Miss Hazel, good eye, good eye. Sabi niya may late billing na 25% cutback, which is found sa footnotes. Very good. So this 825 explains that there's a late billing of 25% cutback. How do you understand this late billing or 25% cutback, which means that 825 applied here is ito yung adjusted amount of 2125. How do you explain that? This late
Kasi
billing.
po yung EOB date dito sa baba is 11/2022, tapos na-file po siya March na po ng 2022. 2020. Ano ba to? Oo. Itong EOB date po at saka yung service na ano. So
Okay.
late na siya. Okay, kasi March ito, tapos 11 pa siya na bill or nag-bill.
So what about that?
So late
What about
siya.
the EOB date? Late siyang na-file or late
File?
siyang na-bill? Okay, very good. Very good. Very good. So the date of service on this claim shows March 6, 2022. And this claim was processed and finalized November 9, 2022. Most of the insurances in the US allows up to 90 days lang po for the filing limit ng mga claims natin. 90 days from the date of service. So meaning from March 6, we only have March, April, May. We only have up to June 6 to submit the claim. And if you notice, this claim was processed November 9 na. So most likely, this claim was submitted maybe mga October or something because they process it November 9. So that's something that you need to investigate. Kailan pala to na isubmit yung claim? Baka past the filing limit na, kaya meron ng penalty fee sa insurance. And that should explain the 25% cutback. That 25% is a penalty fee that the insurance imposed on the claim. That's why instead of paying $85, they only paid $63.75. They deducted 25% of $85. And that's why there is this adjusted amount of $21.25. The doctor could have received the full amount of $85. But since late tayong nag-bill ng claim, late nating na-submit yung claim, late nag-bill ng claim si biller, they took 25% off the $85. And that's why they only paid $63.75. Is this something that we can appeal?
I think no na
No.
po kasi it's our fault.
Ano yung mga cases na pwede tayong mag-appeal? Ano yung mga instances
If you
na
can
pwede natin?
prove, if you can prove po na you filed the document or the claim before the 90-day allowance, then you can file an appeal. Pero if they have proof na you file it beyond 90 days, baka it's unappealable na po.
Okay, all right. Very good, very good, very good. If the claim was filed within the 90 days period from the date of service, then yes, pwede tayong mag-appeal, pwede natin i-dispute by sending an appeal letter and then sending proof of timely filing showing that the claim was filed within the filing limit. So if we can provide that, then pwede natin tong i-dispute para mabayaran tayo and the doctor gets a total of $85. Okay? So, but since, let's say, late talaga tayo nag-file, so it's non-appealable, now, what the biller would need to do next is ipopost na lang po yung payment. Ipopost na lang natin yung payment of $63.75 as the paid amount, and then $21.25 as late billing fee, and then so that should be $63.75 plus $21.25. That should equate to $85. What happens to the $115? Kasi 'di ba nag-bill tayo ng 200. Ito yung charge ni Doc, 200.
I think the patient will pay out of pocket na po.
So yung 115 will be billed to the patient? Would everyone agree?
Will be on insurance.
Bill pa rin natin kay insurance? Okay. So nagbayad na si insurance ng $63.75. Yung remaining na 115 pwede nating i-bill ulit kay insurance? Is that it? What should we do sa remaining na $115?
Right off.
Write off? Okay, okay, very good. Sa patient, not actually sa patient kasi itong copay, deductible, or co-insurance, it shows zero, meaning walang responsibility si patient. Wala siyang kailangang bayaran because it should be covered by her insurance in the first place. So, hindi natin pwedeng i-bill kay patient. What happens to that $115 becomes a contractual adjustment na po. Contractual adjustment, so that's like zeroing out the balance sa ledger natin kasi bayad na tayo in full ni insurance. It's just that hindi nila kinover yung 21.25 kasi na-late tayo ng billing, which is again undisputable. Kasi late nga yung billing. Unless may proof tayo na na kapag submit tayo ng claim within the filing limit, then pwede nating i-dispute yung 2125 para mabayaran tayo ni insurance. But in this case, if ma-dispute man natin, the provider will only get that $85 fee because that is the maximum reimbursable amount based on the patient's contract for this type of service. So there's always like what we call they call it fee schedule. Fee schedule is a contracted rate kada procedure. Pag may insurance si patient, there's that fee schedule or contract rate kada procedure, kada surgery, kada treatment. And that's what the insurance will pay or what the provider will get for every services. It doesn't mean na because nag-bill si Doki ng 200, yan din yung makukuha niya from the insurance. No. Depende yan sa insurance policy ni patient. So if the insurance policy states that for this type of service, telehealth, they will only pay $85, then that's the amount that the doctor gets. Do you think lugi si Doki? Lugi kaya si Doki? Because he only gets 85 instead of 200? Yeah? Will everyone agree that lugi si Doki? Mm-hmm. No, as per Sir Ray, because accounted na yung possible adjustments sa pricing. Mhm. Why, Miss Hazel? Why do you think hindi lugi si Doki in this business? Why do you think hindi lugi when in fact the doctor only got $85 instead of 200? Kung na-submit natin yung claim within the filing limit, the doctor could have gotten 85. So why do you think hindi lugi si Doki when in fact the charge or the standard rate ni Doki for that service is 200? That's the contract rate? Mm-hmm. Hindi actually lugi si Doki because I mean that's how business works sa US healthcare. That's how contract ng insurance. Yeah, you can say that may contract sila, but that's how business works. So that the more patients go to the doctor's office, the more, 'di ba, cash flow or the more na mag-thrive yung business ni Doki because they cater to patients who are under Sequoia, or if in network si Doki kay Sequoia, meaning if affiliated si Doki kay Sequoia Health Insurance, all the more that patients will go to the doctor's clinics. And you know, sa US, again, mandated sa kanila yung mga insurances. There are very few patients, few citizens who have self-pay or who are doing self-pay who doesn't have any insurances at all. So the more these patients would go to the doctor's clinics, then the more the doctor gets paid by the insurance. So if there are only few patients who do not have insurance, then the doctor gets $200 in full. But since kukonti lang sa kanila ang walang insurance and more of them have insurances for this type of service, most likely the doctor still gets paid and still gets reimbursed. I mean, hindi pa rin sila lugi because that's how healthcare works in the US. Right? So again, going back, if the patient does not have any insurance, how much do you think the doctor gets? How much would the doctor get for this type of service if this patient does not have insurance? If the patient has, or if the patient is self-pay. Okay, correct. $200. That's right. That's right. Okay. Very good. Yep. But since again, kokonti lang sa kanila yung walang insurance, then a lot of patients would go into this doctor's clinic because this doctor is in network or affiliated to a lot of insurances. So all the more na tuloy pa rin yung cash flow ni Doki. And again, why I wanted to present to you this sample of EOB, because I want you to be familiar how to assess, how to analyze EOBs. Part of your task will be checking the status of the claim. Once na-process na yung claims natin, once it's out from the system, once you're done doing charge entry and submitting the claim, your next task is to follow up on those claims. If after 30 days or within 30-day to 60-day period, wala pa rin tayong nakuhang response from the insurance, or if we have not got any payment from the insurance, that's when you have to follow up. That's when you have to check the status of the claim. Once you receive the claim or the EOB from the insurance, ikaw din yung magdedetermine whether appealable yung claim or paid in full na ba yung claim. Ikaw yung mag-a-analyze ng EOB. And that's why I presented you this example. So that's going to be part of your task as a medical biller to analyze EOBs, because that's part of the adjudication process. Question, so pag bill ni Doki ng $200, alam na niya na possible di siya mabayaran ng exact amount? Yep, exactly. The doctors would know. Let me ask you back. If alam na ni Doki na hindi siya mababayaran ng $200 in full, why would they bill the insurance $200? Why can't we just go ahead and bill them for $85? What do you think? Why do you think that's how doctors bill? Anyone? Because yun yung standard rate. Correct. Because that's the standard rate ni Doki for that type of service. Kiber ba ni Doki kung ano yung insurance plan or ano yung insurance policy ng kada patients nila? The doctor doesn't know. The doctor does not have any idea what his or her patients have or what type of insurance they have. So the doctor wouldn't know how much they would get paid for. As long as they get paid based on the contracted rate, then it's good. So hindi nila i-adjust yung billed amount na yon based on the contracted rate. They're going to base it on how much the standard rate is for that type of procedure. So that's why we bill $200 for that type of service, right? So because that's the standard rate ni Doki for that type of service. Now, kung iba siguro yung insurance plan ni patient, like hindi si Sequoia, if the patient has a different plan, then the doctor may not get paid for $85. Again, it depends kung ano yung insurance policy ni patient. If iba yung insurance, the doctor might get a different paid amount. Depende sa policy ni patient. So, yeah, okay pa ba tayo? Gets pa naman po why we have to discuss EOBs, why you have to know, why you have to understand EOBs. Gets pa naman, kaya pa naman. Okay, good. Kung kaya pa naman, let's continue discussing this tomorrow. Even here in the Philippines, when insurance companies pay for the doctor services, it's still very much lower than the doctor's real rate. I know, right? I know, right? So anyway, don't worry. I'll show you more examples of EOBs from several different insurances, kasi each insurance has different formats or ano yun, yung templates na mga EOBs nila. So it helps if you're familiar with different templates then from different insurances. But that's how it looks like. EOBs would always explain how the insurance will pay for the service, how much they will pay, what services they will pay, and why they deny a specific service. So nakalagay yan sa EOB nila. But sometimes yung EOB is not very specific, it's not detailed, so that's why you're gonna have to call insurances. And that's where you come in. You're gonna have to follow up. You're gonna have to call insurances. So that's part of your task. Medyo biti. Okay, don't worry. We'll have more examples tomorrow. And I think that's it for today muna. Papunta pa lang tayo sa exciting na part, guys. So don't worry. We'll have more of that in the coming days as we move forward. So that's just the process of RCM. We'll discuss this. We'll continue discussing this tomorrow. Same time po and same link. Thank you so much, everyone. I'll see you tomorrow. Thank you.
Bye,
Thank you
Coach.
po.
Thank you.
Ma'am.